Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today we're going to update the Decimater Void Knight build by giving it a little more oomph. With this build we're going to be throwing on a two-piece set of the Forgotten Knight. This is going to give us more void damage and void crit chance, and it's going to create some extra void rifts. What this is ultimately going to lead to is more damage output and more purple on the screen. We're also going to throw on one of the new Doom Rings that you can get from Orbis. I'm sure you've had at least one drop for you. And this will help us leech even more void damage. This build will be about attacking from range, doing really good damage, and trying to kill everything before it has a chance to even attack you. Now, while you can take a hit and you are a little tanky, this is not a face tanking build, so you do want to kill things from as far away as possible. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills, the interactions, and just how it all works. For skills, I'm running Smite, Volatile Reversal, Devouring Orb, Anomaly, and Lunge. For Smite, we have this set up for extra damage, extra cast speed, and some lightning bolts added in. We've got 3 points in Sacrifice to increase our damage by 150%. This does come at a cost of consuming some of our current life, but we outleech that, so it's fine. We got 1 point in Atonement, 1 point in Conviction, 1 point in Deep Impact, 2 points in Blinding Flash, 1 point in Order of Lagon. We've already converted it to Smite, so it will not convert to Lightning with this node. However, we do want the Lightning Bolts, so we went with 1 point in Unbalanced Scale and 3 points in Wandering Bolts, so that we'll get up to 6 extra Lightning Bolts that come down and hit other targets, which is great for AoE clear. Then we got 1 point in Holy Wave, 3 points in Righteous Fury, and 5 points in Righteous Flurry, which gives us another 50% cast speed. And since we're manually casting it all the time, you'll have 100% uptime of this buff. For Volatile Reversal, for those of you that don't know how Volatile Reversal works, it takes you back in time by default 2 seconds, reverting your health, your mana, and your location where you were 2 seconds ago. Now with 2 points in Ancient Reversal, we're actually increasing that to 4 seconds, so it takes you back to where you were 4 seconds ago with mana, health, and your location, which is counterproductive in Echoes because it takes you back, so far that you have to rerun where you went. So we only use this when we go up against rares and bosses, and we've already been there for a few seconds, so that we just get the benefits without moving back too far from where we've located. We have 2 points in Traveler's Fatigue, and then 1 point in Time Loss Wisdom and 1 point in Time Loss Vitality, make it to where it no longer affects our health or mana, so we just go back in 4 seconds in location, and then we get the bonus of 3 points in Warped Time and 3 points in Catching Up, so we get 36% move speed and 36% cast speed for our 30% cast speed every time that we use this in the last 4 seconds. Those do stack. And now that we don't, lose our mana or health, we can just sit there and spam it, especially on bosses and rares where we've already been there, and all it does is just give us buff. We're just buffing ourselves to attack faster and move faster. We also have 2 points in Time Sap, 1 point in Terminal Void Rift, 3 points in Dark Expanse, and 2 points in Harbinger of Dust, so that enemies that are hit by the Void Rift take 20% more damage. For Devouring Orb, we have this set up to orbit us and move with us through the map, and they'll all be casting off Abyssal Orbs, which will all count as void hits and do some void damage. We got 1 point in Dark Moon, 1 point in Abyssal Rush, 1 point in Cosmic Impact, 5 points in Sightless Star, 2 points in Void Adept gives us some global damage, 1 point in Hollow Orb, 1 point in Abyssal Emission, so that every 3 seconds a Devouring Orb, which you'll have many of them around you, will release an Abyssal Orb, which will seek and deal void damage. And then with 8 points in Dark Torrent, we reduce that 3 seconds down to just under 1 second. And then for Anomaly, we have Anomaly set up to give us Leech, Cast Speed, and Crit Chance. We got 1 point in Void Touched, 1 point in Immediacy, 1 point in Time Bubble, so that when you cast it, you now make a bubble for 5 seconds. 4 points in Temporal Mastery increases that 5-second duration to 9 seconds. 1 point in Time Lord now makes the bubble move with us. We'll be centered in the middle of it. 1 point in Lingering Memory lets you keep all the other buffs that you get from this skill for 2 seconds after the bubble disappears, and those benefits include the 5 points in Decimation for the 150% increased critical strike chance, the 2 points in Manipulation for the cast speed, and the 2 points in both Time Eater and Void Maul for all that increased health leech. For Lunge, we have this set up the normal way with 3 points in Tactician, 4 points in Forge On for that 100% increased armor, 1 point in Unstoppable so we're immune, 1 point in Initiative for the initiative buff, and 5 points in Avenger's Charge so the initiative gives us 240% increased crit chance as well as 40% increased damage, 4 points into the Fray, and 1 point in Double Strike with the very last point in Deadly Aim. For passives, we got 30 points in the Sentinel base class with 8 points in Fearless, 5 points in Armor Clad, 6 points in Relentless, 5 points in Time and Faith, 1 point in Gladiator, and 5 points in Blade Master. Now, we don't have a sword and an axe, but we do just have a sword in the offhand, so we do get that 30% increased cast speed. And then we have 83 points in the Void Knight with 5 points in Temporal Corruption, 8 points in Void Bolts, 5 points in Devouring Blade, 8 points in World Eater, 10 points in Sorrow and Steel, 1 point in Void Corruption for a huge 83% increased critical strike multiplier with all skills and attacks that we do. Thanks to having 83 points in here, this is a very powerful point. 10 points in Umbral Attunement, 5 points in Future Strikes. You don't have to take the Future Strikes, but because we do so many hits and we've stacked into so much void damage, they definitely do decent damage for us. 5 points in Echoing Strikes, 10 points in Time Legion, 1 point in Avatar of Regret, and 15 points in Dread for that void damage and move speed. For our idols, our items, and our blessings, so you can still wear 4 of the 1x3s that have the increased smite damage. So 4 of those are going to be your best thing to put on. The suffix doesn't really matter, put on anything that you want. And then you get to fill in the other spots with some 1x1s and 1x2s. You can finish off your resistances, you can get some critical strike chance, you can get additional armor, you can get dodge. Anything that you want will fit in those slots, so see what you need, what you haven't gotten on your gear, and then throw them in those slots. And then on this build we are wearing 4 uniques. We are still wearing Gasper's Will, the Sceptre. This comes with a huge amount of adaptive spell damage as well as added spell void damage to it, so it's really hard to ever beat it out with any other weapon in this slot, especially for a void smite build. It also comes with up to a 245% chance to ignite on spell void hit, and we're going to be doing void hits all over the place. So there's going to be a lot of igniting going on as well. Although we're not built into fire damage, it just adds a little extra damage to the build. In the offhand, we have the Blade of the Forgotten Knight. This gives us up to 50 spell void damage, which is more void damage for spells than you can get on any other weapon in the game, especially in the offhand, because we can't wear a wand or a scepter in this slot. So this is definitely going to be the best in slot weapon for this. It also gives you increased attack and cast speed, a chance to gain haste every second, which is huge because it's going to allow you with how many hits that you're doing to just kind of extra speed run through the maps. And then if for some reason you want to throw on a void melee skill such as like Void Rive, you could do that as well and get a little extra void damage. Now we teamed this up this time with the Locket of the Forgotten Knight, and the reason we teamed it up was it just gave so much more void damage that there was no reason to really spend the time to craft a really good amulet. This gives us increased critical strike chance, it gives us increased void damage, increased void critical strike chance base, it gives us flat armor, a chance to create a void rift when we hit an enemy, and then it also, because it completes the 2-set bonus, gives us another 50% void damage. So you can get 100% void damage out of this, as well as a much higher chance to crit with your void skills, and you create void rifts for some extra secondary procs of damage. So a lot of damage out of that amulet, and you could still craft a tier 5 void damage and a tier 5 void penetration if you want to do similar damage, but the Locket was just easier to throw on. And then the last unique is the Siphon of Anguish. You don't have to wear this, but it just was nice to have one more void effect going into the skill. So not only do we leech 3% of void damage as an increase with this, but it also gives us movement speed, and it also gives us the chance to apply Doom on hit with Doom effect. And you can only get so many stacks of Doom. I think it's 3, but it might be 4 or 5, but 3 stacks of Doom on an enemy, and it does really good damage over time. And while we're not built into damage over time, we are built into void damage, so it will still do pretty good damage. And the nice thing about it, it's just another proc of another thing. So you'll have, you know, your future strikes, your time rifts, Doom, and then Smite itself, all doing its hits on an enemy, and it allows you to just go through single targets with rares and bosses, trash mobs, all of them. You're just going to kill them very, very quickly. And I'm just going to hover over the rest of these that are all crafted items. Basically, you want your resistances capped. You want to get in as much health that you can get, because health is going to help protect you. You'll leech it back very, very quickly, but you want as much health just to avoid the one-shots that you could take. This build is revolving around killing things from range, so you want to stay away from things and kill them before they get to you. You can take a hit if you need to, however, I don't recommend standing in any of the big AoEs, as you're not a very, very tanky paladin. You're just a slightly tanky Void Knight. And then I'm going to hover over the blessings as well. This build planner will be in the description down below and in the written guide as well. Not all of these blessings are min-maxed. There are better choices. This is just what I had on my character, and the last two I actually don't even have on my character yet. I haven't been able to get them, but these two will definitely increase the defense of the build. So in the gameplay, we don't even have this increased endurance threshold and endurance percentage, which means that you'll take even less damage than you're seeing in the gameplay. And then for the character sheet, as you can see, we're sitting at about 1600 life. We are not capped on our necrotic, void, poison, or physical resistances. So those ones you definitely want to work on getting a little bit higher. You can get those from several different sources, whether it be on the idols that you want to put them on, gearing better. I only have like some tier 3s and tier 4 resistances, so getting tier 5 or an exalted version will definitely boost you up. We got about 1000 armor, and then again, not very much dodge, just one dodge thing on a 1x1 idol. For damages, we got 281% critical strike multiplier. That gets a slight boost from Smite, which has another 25% entry. But we're sitting at 550% void damage, so lots and lots of void damage. And then for defense, we have about 27% endurance. We're just shy on the critical strike avoidance. We need a couple of better tiers. We have 2 tier 3 critical strike avoidance on the gear, but getting an additional tier 5 would get us to that 100%. We weren't quite done gearing on this. And then of course the blessings. If you get the endurance blessing and the endurance threshold blessing, you can definitely boost these up and even take less damage. For how I set this build up for skill rotation and how to play, I like to put Lunge, Anomaly, and Devouring Orb all on autocast, and then I manually cast Smite and Reversal only when I need it. And so here I'll start casting my Smites, and you can already see how fast that we are casting them. And then once I throw in some reversals, it'll get even a little bit faster. So if I throw in the reversal, it's not a super noticeable difference, but we are getting 30% more cast speed out of that. And you can see you're just absolutely casting an astronomical amount of it. Now the things that you don't see here, the Devouring Orbs are not having the Abyssal Orbs actually go and attack the training dummy. So there's even more hits than this that happen on single target. But you can see you're doing 30 to 40k crits. It's quite a bit of damage, and you're getting a lot of them very, very fast. And that's it. You just run around. You have very high movement speed. You can clear maps quite well. Of course, you are stopping to manually cast Smite, but that doesn't matter, as you're just going to kill things so fast, you'll be right back to moving in no time. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys some gameplay. I hope that you enjoyed the build, and as always, stay safe, travelers.